Simpsonville, Greenville, Greer. My daughter and I were just driving around doing stuff yesterday. Everywhere we went, you could smell the fire. And you could see the smoke. It was a haze over Greenville County. So, even if you're not keeping up with it in the news, it's not affecting you because you're near, you live in a neighborhood there. You can see it. You can see the haze. I mean, it kind of settled over my neighborhood. It's wild, the size of this fire.
Yeah, there is an air quality alert for the northern counties of the upstate that border the North Carolina. And I think you've got 3 counties in western North Carolina also having an air quality alert because of the smoke.
Yeah. But I mean, it sounds like some good news overnight, maybe kind of getting a hold of it. Hopefully. What a mess.
Yeah. I mean, in North Carolina, from the report we just had from the Associated Press, they are making some progress, or it's slowing in North Carolina. But here in South Carolina, though, the 2 fires are continuing to expand. They're just having a very tough time getting ahead of this.
I know. And part of the frustration is, gosh, darn, would it rain? If it would, supposed to rain, toward the weekend, but that's been notorious. They've been the weather reports have just been off. It's been notoriously patchy. In other words, it looks like it's going to rain. Well, maybe it'll rain. Well, I don't know what. Maybe it'll rain later. We said it will rain now, and then it ends up being a non-event. So we need a good hard rain this weekend. It would help a lot. But it seems like even though it's Thursday, a long time in terms of fire time.
Yeah, particularly if you've got any structures, residences, or anything in that area. That's it's going to be tough.
You know what I'm looking forward to? We haven't had a lot of details yet on the teenagers who were involved in starting this fire. And the sheriff of Pickens County keeps saying, well, we'll have that later. Well, we'll see how much damage is done. Then we'll talk about charges. I mean, he says he's going to charge him. They're going to charge him, obviously, but they're waiting to get a final tally and see, okay, like how much damage are we talking here?
It's, from what I've heard, I think it's more of a case of negligence as opposed to arson. So.
But I'm very much looking forward to getting the details. Teen boys wandering around in the woods. How old were they? Was it like teen boys like 18, 19 or teen boys like 13, 14? In which case you ask, where were the parents? And what were they doing exactly? I'm just curious, genuinely, Craig, given the absolute mess this has created. What were you doing that caused this? What made you want to set something on fire? And were you trying to start a fire? Look, it's been really windy lately too. I mean, shockingly windy. Usually get a little wind here and there, but I mean, it's been consistent day after day after day. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was just a confluence of things and nobody meant any harm, but it's just going to be really interesting to see what exactly they did. And also, who are they? And what are their ages? I mean, I don't generally let my teenagers wander the woods without me. But we'll see. So, all right. Meanwhile, Trump's going for it looks like on auto tariffs. 25% if you don't make them here, half the cars we drive are made here. But when half the cars we drive are not made here, according to the Wall Street Journal, they're saying this is going to affect the price of all cars. So for a car made here, assuming Trump goes through with it, it's going to cost about $3,000 more just because there are fewer cars and less demand for cars made there. More people will buy cars made here. So it's going to cost about $3,000 more on average, about $6,000 more on average that are seeing for cars made somewhere else and shipped in here.
Well, my initial reaction to that is there are a lot of cars already made here.
Yeah, 50%.
And it just stuns me that there's plenty of foreign manufacturers. I mean, right here in South Carolina, you've got BMW and Volvo that both build cars here. And of course, in the Southeast, you've got Mercedes-Benz, you've got Hyundai, you've got Kia, Nissan, Honda. In other areas, and Toyota as well, all of the manufacturers. And quite honestly, this dates back to the 80s from the voluntary import quotas that we used to have. That's the first use of something similar to this that forced the manufacturers foreign manufacturers to put factories here to build those cars here.
Yeah, it's just going to be interesting to see. I mean, the car prices have already been Biden-inflated.
Yeah.
They're out of control. They really are. The price of a car.
And then there's interest rates.
Yeah,
and
on top
insurance.
Of that. Yeah, and I should say the payment for a car is a better way to look at it, has more than doubled since Joe Biden took office. And so adding this on top of it, it's going to be an extra burden for the American people. How does this affect things? I imagine this will drive up the price of used cars even further as well. How does this, I mean, just one more thing, how does this affect us?
And then when the value of the vehicle that you're purchasing goes up, guess what also goes up? Your taxes.
Yeah. So all of that is baked in. And Cheryl Casoni was correctly laying this out this morning on Fox News. She's, listen, it's going to take a minimum of 3 to 4 years for these automakers to build the cars here, right? And here's the part she didn't say, and this is what I wonder about. And this is what I'm thinking is going to be the biggest problem Trump's going to have, and he can't do anything about it. If I'm an automaker and I'm like, okay, then I'll make the cars here in America. Here's the problem. 2028. If JD Vance wins or whoever on the Republican side, right? Somebody else wins. You're going to have the electricity you need to make cars. Probably. You're going to have maybe the tax environment you need to make cars. But here's the problem. You can't complete the mathematical equation in this country because if Democrats win, Katie, bar the door. Yeah. Because you may be halfway through building your manufacturing facility, right? Based on a set of mathematical equations. Democrats win. And all of a sudden they're dictating, hey, you got to make, 75%, 50%, 60% electric vehicles out of there. And like, wait, no, nobody wants to buy them. They don't care. They do not care. They don't care about your economic reality. They'll slap that executive order right back on you. Now your company's bankrupt. The other problem, Lee, is, okay, so that's just executive order EVs, right? I mean, that's a very real possibility. I mean, Joe Biden put that executive order on. What will the Democrats do to you? Here's problem number 2. Democrats have put the permitting process on hold for virtually the coastlines of both countries, for a lot of the country. So, the exploration we should be doing for natural gas right now on hold. Trump can't reverse it because of how that law was written. Republicans are dragging their feet. La-di-da-di-da, vacation time, ha-ho. Senate laughing, saying, no, we're just too busy to do anything in Trump's agenda. So sorry, maybe by June, maybe by July, maybe never. And that's on the energy stuff too, right? Just no time, John Thune says, super duper busy. That's because he's a Bush guy. So he's now playing the Paul Ryan role of how can we stop Trump's agenda and make him fail. And so this is the Republican leadership in the Senate. I mean, they are an absolute unmitigated disaster. And so you'd say you're a Japanese automaker and you're thinking, well, I'd love to make my cars in America. Will you have the energy needed to do it? Don't know. And that's Republicans. You can't complete the mathematical equation. You can't do it. Maybe John Thune will find some time in his busy schedule of mass corruption and blocking the Trump agenda. Again, he's a Republican, to find some time to, get this energy situation taken care of. By the way, it's the 27th of March. What you been doing, buddy? You've been back since January 3rd. Busy? What in the name of God have you been doing? And this is what Japanese automakers are going to be saying. This is what foreign automakers are going to be saying. I don't know if I can afford to manufacture in America. Because Democrats, because John Thune. Honestly, Mike Johnson, where's Johnson? Where is the energy bill? Where is it? Should be done by now. Oh, they're on vacation. So here's the problem, Lee. I'm willing to take a hit to cars, to the price. I am. But if we can't even see Republicans making any moves on electricity, how are manufacturers supposed to do it? Don't know. And if Democrats take control again, they were well on their way to destroying the grid. Well on their way. Here, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. 40% of our electricity came from coal, cheap, affordable coal. When Barack Obama took office, today it's 16%, right? Well, Trump just signed an executive order saying, no, we're going to burn clean coal. We got to compete with India and China. Cool. But it's an executive order. So Biden, somebody like Biden minds, Democrat comes back in, they'll go right back to their goal of completely eliminating coal by 2030. How will you manufacture? I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, we're talking the potential for rolling blackouts here. And you can't even get the Republicans to show you they're committed to affordable energy. Never mind the Democrats. I mean, I'm talking about the Republicans in Congress. So this is really going to hurt Trump. And he may get stuck with artificially high auto tariff rates in nobody can move here because John Thinn's just too busy being on vacation. This is where we are. We got to do better. We got to do better. And we're not doing better. So, I have some sympathy for automakers. If we can't complete the equation, if they can't figure out what is going to be my cost 5 years, 6 years from now, when the doors open on my facility to make my stuff, it's not fair to ask them to move here. It's not. Well, Trump endorsing Lindsey Graham overnight, doubling down on what a great guy that he is. You got to vote for him, South Carolina. That's what Trump says about Lindsey Graham. What's going on here? A lot of outrage online. In fact, it's the second biggest thing trending on Twitter right now. President Trump endorsing Lindsey Graham for re-election in South Carolina. He says, Senator Lindsey Graham's working incredibly hard for the great people of South Carolina, state I love, and won big in 2016. What do you think about this, by the way? Lindsey's been a wonderful friend to me. Oh, my gosh. What a lie. Oh, my God. I got to call it. That's a lie. Oh, my gosh, has Lindsey inserted the knife. Folks, just this, this is their friendship, okay? I'm going to tell you what's going on here. This is their friendship. While Donald Trump was facing 700 years in prison, the FBI was on his front porch and in Melania's underwear drawer. Remember that? Well, that literally we're in the middle of that. Persecution. While the FBI was falsifying evidence against Trump, something they got caught doing, what was Lindsey Graham doing? What was he doing during that time? Standing with Trump? Yeah. He was busy fighting for a brand new $100 million headquarters for his friends at the FBI and increasing their budget. What kind of sign did that send? I'll never forget it. It was December of 2023. So, we knew all the charges were coming. We knew they would start to hit in January. It was a really scary time watching what they were doing to Trump and thinking it could happen to any of us. And sure enough, the charges would hit in January of 2024. December 2023. Knowing all these investigations were going, Trump was absolutely being persecuted and prosecuted to no end. And Lindsey Graham was busy trying to get the FBI brand new headquarters. Fully, by the way, part of that, that budget that they put together, that spending package that he voted for, also had additional funding, $100 million that they spent going after Trump, including funding for Jack Smith. So the new headquarters, funding for Jack Smith, and expansion of the FBI's budget. That's what Lindsey Graham said. That's Lindsey Graham being a friend to you. That's who he is. They're not friends. And I'm just going to call BS on that. They're not friends. They're not. I mean, look, they tolerate each other. Lindsey Graham pretends he's a Trumper. He's not. Because to be anything else would make people mad. And Trump pretends they're friends. They're not. They're mortal enemies. Friends don't do that to you. Lindsey did. Worse yet, you will remember, while the FBI was persecuting Donald Trump, perjured themselves before the FISA court at a felony level. Lindsey Graham rewarded him for that too. So that's Lindsey. Why is Trump endorsing Lindsey Graham? Because he's got him over a barrel. They've got each other over a barrel, really. Lindsey Graham is clearly nervous about Mark Lynch, who is a Greenville businessman and has the money, if he wishes, they think, to take on Lindsey Graham, has funds. A lot of these folks that were running before do not have that level of money or family names. So they're concerned about it. I know what's happening here. Lindsey Graham is calling Trump up. I need an endorsement. So why is Trump doing this? A lot of rage this morning on Twitter. Trump's doing this because he needs Lindsey Graham's vote. That's ultimately it. And he's just got to hope Lindsey won't insert the knife later. I mean, we just did the first segment of the show. I mean, this is just political reality. We just did the first segment of the show on Trump's tariffs. Well, I can tell you what's going on right now. It's all these automakers are calling up the White House. They're calling up staff and go, look, we'd be willing to move to America to get out of the tariffs. So some companies already have, but we can't even do the math on our manufacturing equation because big fat corrupt John Thune, the head of the GOP in the Senate, is refusing to move your energy legislation, sir. He's saying it might be July, could be fall, don't know. And folks, this is just basic energy, just to get the permits unfrozen that Biden froze with an executive order. A lot of people don't understand this. They think, well, can't Trump just write an executive order and unfreeze them? No, he can't. The way the legislation is written, once the president freezes them, it takes more legislation. This is easy peasy stuff, okay? If you're a Republican, you should be for energy. So why is John Thune doing this? Why is he in the Hill I thought this article was outrageous, saying, well, we're so super busy here in the Senate, me and Lindsey Graham, who does the budget and completely controls the strings of the spending for your agenda, sir. We're just very, 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 very busy. Sorry. Good luck with your tariff negotiations. And I guarantee these automakers are saying, look, we'd love to live here, but we'd love to move here, but we can't complete the equation. I mean, what if the Democrats win? What if Lindsey Graham and John Thune never move your energy legislation? We can't build a factory. And I mean, that's a problem. So this is why Trump is endorsing Lindsey. I can't imagine the bitter pill this is for Trump. If you notice, you don't see them together much anymore. They used to be joined at the hip. And you still do see them together from time to time. You do. But not like before. Lindsey Graham's on the outer circle right now. You can see that. He's not an enemy officially. But he's not a friend. So, and the problem is and you can see in the second paragraph why Trump endorsed him. As the chair of the Senate Budget Committee, Lindsey is fighting tirelessly to grow the economy, lower tax. No, he's not. Oh my God, no, he's not. No, he was trying to get a bigger spending package than the record-breaking monstrosity that Mike Johnson passed. All-time largest deficit ever. It's going to cause inflation. So Lindsey's not doing any of this. But you can see it in the second paragraph there. As chair of the Senate Budget Committee, Trump's entire agenda is in his hands. Now, you might say, well, okay, Mark Lynch, would he vote with Trump? Oh, yeah, absolutely. He'd be a great senator. He'd vote with Trump probably 100% of the time. But Trump doesn't know if he can get him over. Lindsey has a funny way of winning in this state, especially down south, which we don't have much control over up here. They've got no good talk radio. Those people think Lindsey is actually who he appears. So Trump is just going, well, I better not piss off the guy who controls my future. And it's really sad because this is why we lose. This is having people like Lindsey Graham who literally will go on TV and talk about what a great guy Trump is and then be working against him in the Senate, along with John Thune and the other folks who are really honestly still more loyal to Jeb and George Bush than they are to any of us or to Trump. But it's real politics, what it is. Yeah. Texter writes, hey, Tira, Mark Lynch will get defeated in the general election. Yeah, I don't think so. No, I don't think a Democrat beats him, not in this state. Another texter writes, but see, here's the problem. What Trump's afraid of is Lindsey beats Mark Lynch in the primary. That's what he's afraid of. And now he's pissed off Lindsey. And that could be a agenda ender for him. I mean, Lindsey's undermining Trump now. Can you imagine? Texter writes, that's the other thing. Texter writes, yes, because Mark Lynch has run before and he didn't win. And so I know that's what Trump's looking at. There are no good decisions here. There's none. Texter writes, you don't want flimsy Gramnesty to have you over a barrel. He's kind of, I can't read that, y'all. Texter writes, it's a long way to the June 26 primary. Actually smart to endorse Miss Lindsey early. Lots can happen before June 26. Voters have short memories. Yeah, texter writes, with friends like Lindsey, who needs enemies? Now, the texter writes, Mark Milley is a traitor, and Lindsey supported what he did with the Chinese communists during Trump's administration. Well, he didn't support that, but he did support Milley. So, yeah, kind of. I guess you could say. Texter writes, didn't Trump read the room in Pickens and notice our lack of support for Graham? Yes, he did, but he also reads the room down in Charleston. I'm telling you, there's no good talk radio down there. Those people haven't got a clue what's going on in the world. Ditto for Myrtle Beach, Charleston, really from Columbia on, it's a wasteland of good news. I mean, not good news, but news that is good, that is real. So South Carolinians are pretty deluded about Lindsey Graham, and Trump's going to go with the guy he thinks is going to win. It's just a shame. So it's what it is. What do you think? I used to love this song. Oh my gosh, what a blast from the past. Okay, so here's kind of where we are right now. This is going to be the reality. Here's Fox News' Cheryl Casoni sort of laying out in the line. There's two really great sides to this whole tariff situation. This could end up being absolutely amazing if we start making things in America. But on the other hand, you're going to see prices go up. If Trump sticks with this, they're going to go up significantly. One of the questions I've got, and just watching what's going on right now, if you look at this article in The Hill, it was devastating this week. And it's John Thune, who claims to be a Republican, but it's not really clear that he is. Look, these are guys that were brought in during the Bush era, okay? Their number one value they were recruited for by Karl Rove at the time was their willingness to do open borders, support globalism, export American business, which was absolutely annihilated over the two Bush terms, starting with Papa Bush, who basically was the author of a lot of the really bad send stuff overseas, because his vision was to spread American business up to Canada and down to Mexico to bleed it out of America. That's what NAFTA was about. A lot of folks on the right like to say, oh, no, that was Clinton. No, that was Daddy Bush. Daddy Bush wrote it. He lost. Clinton carried it forward. And the idea was you could erase America's borders and create sort of this North American trade union that would compete with Europe. And that the best way to ensure that would happen, number one, would be endless open borders immigration, which is what George Bush pioneered when he was governor of Texas, forbidding the Border Patrol to patrol during, in state parks that abutted the border so that you had this massive flood of illegal immigrants. He's the one who started that, not Obama. So that was part of it. But the other part of it was deliberately destroying the American manufacturing base. It was not an accident. This idea that we would begin to think it was as much of a success if the manufacturing base was in Mexico or Canada as in America, because it would force us to operate as a bloc and erase America's sovereignty. That's what all these senators were recruited for. They're still in the Senate. We've gotten rid of a lot of them in the House. They're an absolute time bomb disaster. So this is why this loyalty to the Bush clan and the Bush fundraising machine, which is still powerful, even though the Bush name is mud. That's all these guys came up through that fundraising machine. So Tim Scott, Lindsey Graham, John Thune, who is now unfortunately our leader in the Senate. Okay, so that's what's going on right here. You've got this headline: GOP senators warn Trump agenda will be slowed by internal divisions. What a joke. John Thune warning, hey, that border security, energy, tax bills, yeah, we may not get around to passing those till July at the earliest. And some Republican senators are even warning, well, it could drag into fall. We might not ever get it done. Sorry. They want him to fail. They want him to fail because they're still clinging to the Bush agenda. That's what they're paid for. I don't even know if there's a real belief system here. It's just that's where their money comes from. These are the guys who, raise $200,000 a pop for them at fundraisers. They have expectations. So that's Trump's problem right there. How do you call up Japanese automakers? How do you call up even European automakers, say, hey, I'm going to tariff you if you don't make your stuff in America? And they go, well, but I can't even do the math on a manufacturing facility. It'd take me 3 to 4 years to build it. You can't even get your GOP senators to pass an energy bill so I can calculate my energy costs. It's a problem. You want to read about it. It's absolute treachery. GOP senators warn Trump agenda will be slowed by internal division. That's just them dragging their feet. They'll hurt him on energy. They'll hurt him every way they can to make him fail so he'll go away. They can go back to, they think, having the party they were having with the Democrats in the 1990s. Those days are over, but they haven't grasped that yet. So they're literally holding up the Trump energy agenda. It's a key part of this. If we were able, folks, if we could slash the corporate tax rate down to where Trump wants it, what do you say, like 15%? And we unleash that clean coal, we unleash that, the drilling, we simplify the process, get it to market fast. Folks, we wouldn't even need tariffs to get them to come in here. They'll be like, forget Europe. This is crazy. We're coming to America. They'd be like, forget Japan. That looks nuts. Let's go to America. We've got better supply of energy than we do here in Japan. We can compete. We can't compete on labor prices. We're never gonna. But we're mechanizing so much, it's not gonna matter. Where it'll matter is energy, and John Thune knows that. And even Lindsey Graham's quoted in here saying, well, we don't have time. Look at the time. So busy. So they're deliberately hurting Trump in these tariff negotiations. Why? Because this is the opposite of that Bush NAFTA agenda. This says we're done with manufacturing in Mexico and Canada where it doesn't belong. It was only pushed there fakely by NAFTA. It's not a natural economic thing that happened. It was pushed there by the Bush agenda to create the North American trade zone, to force American manufacturing out of our states across the border, so we would have to begin to operate as one borderless North American country with no sovereignty and no rights. That is the Bush goal. It's almost a religion with them. It's where it comes from. We defeat it a little more every year. With education, with the way things Trump says, it gets better every year. But these businesses that Trump wants to tariff, we said, what do you want me to do? And they got this other problem. See, if they could see the Republicans passing this legislation, they could say, okay, you know what? It's going to be really hard for the Democrats to come in and undo it. It will. It'll be very hard. But Republicans aren't passing legislation. I know what these Japanese automakers are saying. For instance, well, but didn't you just use the word bloodbath to describe President Trump, just a few months ago, what the Democrats were doing to the American auto industry? He did. That's why he said bloodbath. He wasn't talking about violence. Why? Because they were going to mandate these automakers to make electric vehicles no one wanted. They were going to sit on the lot. 5,000 auto dealers wrote a letter to Biden begging the Democrats stop with the mandates. These Japanese automakers are going to go, if the Democrats win in 28, I got no energy to make the cars. None. Lindsey Graham's out there doing what? They're all on vacation. Nobody cares. I got no energy to make the cars. And the Democrats, if they win in 28, you don't get legislation passed, they'll just write another executive order, make me make electric vehicles, and I'm going to go bankrupt. Why wouldn't I just stay in Japan and wait it out? Trump's going to have to answer that question. And the best way to answer it is to bend John Thune and Lindsey Graham to his will and move this energy bill through. And they know that. They know that. And that's why they're fighting it. You know what this is? This is George Bush and Jeb Bush versus Donald Trump over again. But I wouldn't bet against Donald Trump. Not a good long-term strategy. That's where we are. So is it going to become the norm for Democrats to advocate violence against Republicans? That's what we're debating right now. It's not a small thing. Yeah, it's a bad look for the Democrat Party. It'll hurt them electorally, but how does it end? We talk about the Russian Revolution often on this show because I believe that the Democrats are using it as a playbook, have been since the Summer of Love. Because the Russian Revolution, which ultimately ushered in the USSR, started with the defunding of police, started with attacks on cops. Does this sound familiar? Oh, yeah. There was a whole very Black Lives Matter-like movement starting a few years before the Russian Communist Revolution. And it encouraged people to throw acid in police officers' faces, intimidate judges. And I think they're copying it. And I think the reason they're copying it is because they were looking for a model. How can a Marxist movement succeed in a country where everyone is armed? And Russia was heavily armed at the time of the Russian Revolution. So how did they lose? Fear. They lost through fear. What would happen? The Marxists were a very small group, relatively, tops 20% of the population supported them. But everyone was terrified of them. If you spoke out against them, they'd break into your house and torture you in front of your family. If you were a judge who ruled against them for their crimes, you might just disappear. Your entire family might disappear with you. They campaigned. They conducted a reign of terror. Now, we're not anywhere near there in our country yet. But in Russia, pre-revolution, it started exactly like what we're seeing. Marxist leaders calling for small, targeted acts of violence. Eventually fundraising for a BLM-like group. It wasn't racially motivated. It was class-wise because everybody was white. It took about 19 years for it to finally spin out of control until, yes, it was a heavily armed population, but individually people were so afraid the Marxists would show up at your door that they were allowed to get away with almost anything. This is why we cannot allow them to spin out of control. Jasmine Crockett, though, representative out of Texas, has other ideas.
Starting with on March 29th, it's my birthday. And all I want to see happen on my birthday is for Elon to be taken down. Yes. I think that you punch. I think you punch. I think you're okay with you okay with punching. You know, I think and I love Colin. And I think towards the end he started to punch a little harder. But like, it's Ted Cruz. I mean, like, this dude has to be knocked over the head, like, hard, right? Like, there is no niceties with him, like, at all. Like, you go clean off on him, right? I think that you punt.
Well, Trump had some things to say about that overnight. So did the wheelchair-bound woman whose Tesla was completely defaced by Democrats at the urging of Democrats and Democrat leadership who incited this. Are we really going to go in this direction as a country? Coming up next. Well, Lee, it's really clear what they're doing. Democrats trying to normalize violence against targets associated with Elon Musk and Donald Trump.
Yep.
I mean, we're now to, can you imagine if Republicans had done anything like this? We're now at the point where a wheelchair-bound woman, Abigail Gill, made the mistake of going to an Olive Garden in Wichita, Kansas, only to have her Tesla basically destroyed. Democrat comes through and doesn't just kind of key it. I mean, he basically graffitis it with a key. I want you to hear from her. Here's the thing to understand. Democrats did this to a disabled woman. Democrat leadership incited this, and worse, because we've now got Jasmine Crockett running around talking about beating Ted Cruz, hitting people, taking out Elon Musk on her birthday. Democrat leadership doesn't say a thing about it because you're fine with it. They're good. They're good with it. They don't care if you're disabled. So here's her message. She's talking about, look, and she's in a wheelchair. Okay. Have some decency. But no, it's all fine.
If she could send a message to the man who keyed her car, it's this.
You have put a very big crisis on me because physically I am in a wheelchair. I just hope that he definitely gets the correct punishment. I hope he pays all of the damages. It is well over $1,000, possibly over $10,000 of damage. I hope that the Wichita police continue to find him.
Yeah, and I mean, so if you look at her car, I mean, he's just basically, like I said, graffitied it with a key. I mean, he went round and round and round. He didn't do it just one time.
Quite a lot of damage. He keyed this side as well, which, as you can see, this side, it even looks like it affected above the tire. This is a lot more damage, but it felt really disappointing that this is happening in such a great country, a great state. So for this to be happening in Kansas, of all places, is super shocking.
She says her family has had discussions around if it's even safe to be driving a Tesla anymore, in part because of incidents like hers.
So she goes on to say, like, the family, the news reporter there in Wichita, Lee, is concerned because she's in a wheelchair. She's in a Tesla, which she loves her Tesla. Mm-hmm. And there was no politics, by the way, in this. There's no pro-Trump, pro-Musk. She just loves a Tesla. Mm-hmm. And they're saying, look, she's in a wheelchair. Could she defend herself against a liberal lunatic? They're worried about it. You shouldn't have to be worried about that she's a beautiful girl. She's bound to a wheelchair. You shouldn't have to be worried about your daughter enough while you're sitting there, worried like, wow, should she sell her Tesla? She's going to get beat up by some liberal thug. How is this America?
Yeah. Well, this is not what Americans do. This is
no, it's not.
Anti-American folks are doing.
When you lose the debate, you lose an election, you go back to the drawing board, figure out what's wrong with your message, fine tune it, change. You don't hurt, physically attack the people who won. But
that's the way America used to be.
The way it used to be. Anyway, Trump had this to say about Jasmine Crockett on a podcast yesterday. This is a top 10 in the country story.
She lies, but she's a lowlife. And she's a very low IQ person and a lowlife. And I don't imagine the Democrats are going to have a person like that running their party. If they do, and they'll never win an election again. It would be very hard.
He's right about one thing here, okay? They need to choose. Are they choosing this woman as the leader of their party? Because she's the one who's getting all the attention right now.
Yeah, it is real interesting how this one individual is suddenly the new AOC.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, who made this decision? I mean, because it seems like all of the mainstream media, including Fox News, they're keying on this one individual. How does this no-name congressperson suddenly become the central focus of the Democrat Party?
She looks like their leader. He's not wrong about that. And if they don't condemn her, they're choosing, this is our leadership now. And he's saying, good luck with that. Good luck. Go ahead. Meanwhile, did you hear about this? Nancy Mace tweeting about this. Do you remember when Nancy Mace stood against men in women's bathrooms,
yeah.
which has ended very badly for some women in their bathrooms who've been attacked, raped, brutalized by men, including an entire girls softball team right here in the Upstate. Sex offender came down from North Carolina. Thought he'd go in there, hang out with them, and he's watching the girls under the straw.
That didn't go well for him.
No, he ended up bleeding. Girl dads are not down with that kind of thing in South Carolina. Do not try that here.
Do not try that.
Again, one of my all-time favorite photos, him sitting on the curb waiting for the police to come with blood running down his face, because that's what dads did. Because honestly, what he did, that's assault. He's prosecuted for it. He's a registered sex offender. So this is not a misunderstood person, okay? This is a guy who was hunting for women and did it in the bathroom. So Nancy Mace was saying, look, and look, I mean, and I played some of the audio. I'm not going to play it again. I mean, we had a transgender man who, said, I'm going to come to the bathroom in the Capitol. I'm going to hunt Nancy Mace. I'm going to take her head and slam it repeatedly into the floor, and threaten to do that. She's had real death. He was just one. No. She's had real death threats. I mean, violent ones. And she asked the Capitol Police, can I have some protection when I'm walking around the Capitol? Can I, because legitimately I've had death threats. They said no. She writes in a tweet, what fresh hell is this? This is Nancy Mace last night. She's, of course, from South Carolina, from out on the coast. I was assaulted on Capitol grounds last year. I begged for extra protection and was denied. Furthermore, I, like many of my colleagues, deal with daily death threats. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene gets a ton, by the way. Capitol Police refused to protect me. Well, she's retweeting Marjorie Taylor Greene. Tonight, I saw an entitled Jasmine Crockett with a new Capitol Police escort walking through the already protected halls of Congress. This comes after today she assaulted an independent journalist who was asking if she condones violence against Tesla. Crockett recently said her birthday wish was to take down Elon Musk and has fueled domestic terrorism against Tesla owners, and Tesla employees. She physically threatened Senator Ted Cruz and shamefully made fun of Governor Abbott being in a wheelchair. But she apparently needs a Capitol Police escort to protect her while she made her male staffer carry her designer handbag. Jasmine Crockett, look, those things can get heavy. You put your makeup in there, and look at me. Look at her. She wears a lot of makeup.
Gosh.
Yeah, and God knows what else. Probably weapons in there too. I don't know.
I don't even like doing that for my wife. I'm sorry. You couldn't pay me enough.
Oh, you're a good husband, though. I know you carry it. Jasmine Crockett is the face of the Democrat Party, and rightfully so. This is so them advocating violence against people she disagrees with while getting a Capitol Police escort to deal with her death threats, supposedly. I'd like to hear the audio. I want proof they're real. While Republican women who have had authentic death threats can't get extra protection. You can't make this up.
Yeah. You
just can't make this up. Unbelievable. And Lee, they're not quite. Did you see what Daniel Goldman tweeted? Democrat congressman? In their world, and I am not kidding, ever since I played that MSNBC clip the woman saying that it was very unfair that Trump would designate them as terrorists for their domestic violence. And she used the word violence, not me, her. Right. That was wrong. Listen to this. Democrat congressman just argued it's not fair that Trump won't let them firebomb Tesla dealerships and fire bullets into them. I kid you not. Listen to how he put it. He was reacting to the FBI launching a task force to crack down on Tesla dealership and Tesla attacks. Right. Again, firebombed, bombs found inside, and bullets fired.
Yeah.
Okay. This is serious stuff. This
stuff
isn't
actually happened. This is not conspiracy theory. These are all facts.
That was in Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is not just some keying and some graffiti either. This is actual violence. Here's what he writes about the idea that the FBI would form a task force to crack down on this. He writes, "This is the political weaponization of the DOJ. Trump uses his official authority to defend his benefactor, Elon Musk. Yes, from your violence, not speech, not censorship, violence. The FBI then creates a task force to use our law enforcement to crack down on adversaries of Musk's, where the Republicans so opposed to lawfare. So if we don't let them firebomb Tesla dealerships, fire bullets, it's lawfare? Okay.
From the party who wants to arrest people for standing across the street from an abortion clinic and praying.
Yeah, and a lot of people were pointing out, because Democrats always say January 6th, January 6th. They're still hunting down people, but it's for misdemeanor trespassing.
Yeah.
There were no bombs. That, besides the ones found out found outside the party headquarters.
Yeah. But
again, it's beginning to look like those might not have been from anybody involved with January 6th or Trump. They might have come from somewhere else, which we've covered. There was no bullets fired. There's no firebombing. There's nothing. Nancy Pelosi's computer was hurt a little bit. There is no comparison here. None. So, apparently it is now political weaponization of the DOJ if the FBI cracks down on people firebombing dealerships. That's where the Democrats are. They feel, and you know what this means? They feel completely comfortable with and justified in their violence as speech. And that is a scary place to be. So the only way that we're going to get rid of this, we got to find their funding sources, and we have got to put them in jail for decades to stop this. Or somebody's going to get killed. And they're going to want to normalize that too. Just wait. Vietnam goes first. Haven't even levied the tariffs on Vietnam yet. They're already backing down. Said it plans to cut import duties on a range of goods, including cars, liquefied natural gas, and agricultural products. Announcement hit the finance ministry's website yesterday, less than 2 weeks after the Prime Minister said the country was reviewing duties in order to encourage increased imports from the United States. Vietnam represents the United States' third highest trade deficit. In other words, we lose by trading with them, behind China and Mexico. So here's what we won. Import duties on some cars will be cut in half, and tax rate for liquefied natural gas will drop from 5% to just 2%. Duties will be cut in half for a number of other products, including chicken, meat, almonds, sweet cherries, raisins, wood, stuff like that. So Vietnam opting not to fight. They have begun the process of knuckling under. And this whole deficit trade mess thing, I mean, some days are going to be good announcements, some days are going to be bad announcements today. I mean, it's going to be all over the place. Meanwhile, in other news, everybody reeling over this. Guess which DC judge was assigned to the Signalgate lawsuit? Liberal group suing Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth, everybody involved in Signalgate. And for the full disclosure of the entire conversation on the app, their lawsuit's actually kind of silly now because the Atlantic went ahead and published the whole thing. So, I mean, there's not much to win there, although they may use it as a jumping off point to try to harass the Trump administration. In other words, they may expand the lawsuit. I don't know. But you know what's wild? Before anybody knew that, before the Atlantic published the rest of the post, the American Oversight left-wing lawfare outlet, and they sue Trump like almost daily. It's basically what they do. Just happened to get a certain DC judge, James Boasberg. Gosh, where have we heard that name before? And what are the odds of getting Boasberg? Well, there's 833 federal judges total in the DC district, where they have been allowed to judge shop, something you couldn't really do until the modern era. That's why Trump has 65 of these injunctions against him just in his first term, and over 120 of them so far. That is more than twice the entire total from every president before Trump, all the way back to the founding. You heard that right. More than 2 times the number by federal district judges that levied against every single president since the founding. I mean, it's astonishing. Why? Because you can't do this. And we know that. We knew that. We've always known that. Here's Mike Johnson talking about how ridiculous this is, now that we've forced him to acknowledge the issue, which is, we're making progress.
Something is happening right now that has not happened before. In the last 100 years, listen to this, 67% of the injunctions issued against a president were issued against one president alone, and that's Donald J. Trump. 67% of the injunctions over the last 100 years. Okay, that's a problem. 92% of those were issued by judges who were known or accused of being partisan, Democrat appointees to the court. So
yeah, they can't do this. By the way, you know who said this? Corrupt former DOJ head Bill Barr. And he's a sleaze bucket, appointed by Trump, but definitely an enemy of the administration. That guy, the one who hid the Hunter Biden laptop before the election so Republicans couldn't get their hands on it and see, dig into the details of it. That guy, even he says that judges cannot do this. They can't enjoin him this way, and that he should be able to use the Alien Enemies Act to ship Tren de Aragua to El Salvador or wherever he wants. So, folks, you know how ridiculous this is if Bill Barr is saying this. And still, we had a 3-judge panel uphold Boasberg's ruling that you can't ship him out. Now, folks, one thing to understand about that was a DC appeals court. Okay, so if you look at the DC district, it's kind of like post-American territory. It's not recognizably American culturally or even legally. They have whole sets of rules that are the opposite of what we've done since the founding. They just make it up as they go along, basically. It's whatever hurts Trump. It doesn't matter what the precedent is. It doesn't matter what the law says. It doesn't matter what the Constitution says. It's irrelevant. They just make it up as they go along. Like I said, post-constitutional territory. Not recognizably American other than just geography. And this is becoming a problem. So here's where it's going to get interesting. You've got John Roberts on the Supreme Court, and you've got Amy Coney Barrett, who is right now trying to decide if she identifies as a liberal and rejects the Constitution, but accepts the adulation she gets at wine and cheese parties with all the right liberals in D.C. I think she's well on her way to becoming a liberal judge. I warned about it when Trump picked her. I said, it's going to be a disaster. You could tell by her record. Don't tell me. I am really worried. They're going to appeal this to the Supreme Court. I am really worried that they let Judge Boasberg's decision stand, or worse yet, they open it up and rule he can't do this. Because that is going to be key to bar the door. And it's only going to take Roberts and Coney Barrett defecting again. They've already essentially signaled to these federal judges that they're very sympathetic by letting the other case go forward. So I don't know. The way to handle this should have been, getting Mike Johnson to pass legislation only needing 51 votes. But once you get a Supreme Court ruling, now you're emboldening judges. This is a mess. It was all caused because Republican leadership won't act. But the good news is we have X now, and X works really fast and really well. So Mike Johnson, in a space of less than a week after Ron DeSantis beat the tar out of him, is now suddenly realizing that he does have the power to stop these judges, and is now walking around talking about using it, which for Mike is huge progress. We did it in less than a week. Not possible without X. So we'll see what that adds up to. Texter writes, if the Atlantic publisher was so horrified that the national security information might be leaked by the signal snafu, why did he publish the chat and make sure everyone saw it? Rather hypocritical. Yeah, this is a hit by the deep state. Folks, you know what I think, though? I think it's kind of a pathetic hit by the deep state. It's very weak. Yeah, they're going to try. They're demanding Pete Hegseth's resignation, and they're going to end up having liberals inside the Pentagon, inside the CIA, rule that this was classified information, maybe the inspector generals, whatever. And they're going to say they lied before Congress. But I don't know. When you actually look at the chats, it makes you really like these guys. I mean, I loved it. I loved that. The whole, there's nothing, not one time in there is there, hey, we'll enrich this manufacturer if we go to war. Not one time in there is there a mention of, hey, this donor will love it if we fire off these missiles that they manufacture. There's nothing like that. It's just, how can we serve Trump? What would he like us to do? And most importantly, what can we extract from Europe in repayment for reopening their shipping lanes to help Americans? It was so refreshing to see something like that. You don't even expect it from politicians. I think this is a win for the Trump administration long term. I don't think it's a loss. I think they picked the wrong conversation to do this with. But you know what? If you are looking at everything with Trump and thinking, I really finally feel good about the economy. I want to move out of my house. I want to downsize. The kids are gone. Or I want to upsize. My family's expanding. Or I just always wanted to live in a little cottage on a mountain. Why not do it? Why not do it? If you're not finding what you want, you're searching for a house, why not build exactly what you want? And one of the things that surprises people the most when they go on the America's Home Place website and they start going through all of the plans is how affordable they are. And it's page after page after page. I mean, truly a massive selection for a custom builder. But then you find out that you can affordably alter those plans. And they've got great software to do it. And then by the time you're done, no two end up looking alike. And you know what? They can build that home for you. After you sign, between 4 and 6 months, they have the fastest turn times for a custom home builder in the Upstate. So look, that's probably what it would take you to find and close on a home. Why not consider building it? They even work with great agents who will help you find affordable land to build it on. So consider America's Home Place. Look, it's going to be a rainy weekend this weekend. Why not go out to their Anderson County location, their location in Greer. See what other people have built, talk to them, and read their reviews. Folks love them. 4.7 out of 5 stars. Folks having great experiences. Some people on their second home, by America's Home Place. So check them out. americashomeplace.com. That's americashomeplace.com. Who is responsible for Signalgate? Your host doesn't often confess to being confused. I'm confused. A lot of things not adding up here. They'll get to the bottom of it. Michael Waltz said he does not know Jeffrey Goldberg, not at all. Which is weird because he ended up in a picture. He was at an event Goldberg spoke at, standing less than 2 feet from Goldberg. Now, had they ever talked before? Well, Waltz says no, never. Goldberg says he's a liar, but didn't give details on, okay, well, if you guys did talk, what, when, where? So many strange things about this. Journalist asked Atlantic editor Jeffrey Goldberg, who was inadvertently or advertently, I don't know, added to the chat. Hey, could you give us some details about the phone that was added? Is that your personal phone? Could you show it to us? Which, special phone? He declined to comment. Why wouldn't you comment? You could say it's your personal phone. If it's not your personal phone, that's kind of weird. Won't say. Several media outlets reporting that it was actually Alex Wong, who serves as the principal deputy national security advisor under Mike Waltz, who added him. Community Notes on X is now saying that's not correct, but the source is The Atlantic, so they lie a lot. Who's Alex Wong? Glad you asked. He's married to Candace Wong. Candace Wong's father, Dr. Yahoo Chu, worked for Asia Sat for 23 years, satellite provider in Asia. It's owned by the Chinese state-owned firm, controlled by the Communist Party. Dr. Chu played a key role in its technical operations, overseeing launches of Asia Sat. So, yeah. Candace Wong, the wife, was nominated by President Biden in 2022 to serve as a member of the United States Sentencing Commission. She's a known Democrat. She was confirmed by the Senate in August of 2022. So I don't know. A lot of folks asking, why on earth would a guy like that with CCP connections and Democrat connections be allowed to serve as an advisor? Major conflict of interest. So some saying it was Alex Wong who added Jeffrey Goldberg to the Signal chat. Others saying no, it wasn't, including Community Notes. I've never been so confused in my life. I do not know. I don't know who's telling truth here. The question comes down to, was or was not Jeffrey Goldberg in Mike Waltz's phone contacts? Here's the thing. If he was, that's not that weird. If you're a member of Congress, which he recently was, I mean, having a lot of liberal journalists in your phone is not weird at all. For no other reason than they call you, you just store the number. But Waltz's problem would have been that he would have lied about it. And that'll sink him. So I don't know. But he does have familial ties to the CCP and to Biden. You got me. I got to tell you what, folks. Quite frankly, I'm bored with this story. I don't care about it. I loved the entire chat. I loved how patriotic and concerned about America and America winning, and Europe not using us anymore. I loved all of it. I really admired the guys on the chat. So, I don't know. I don't know, but I'll tell you this: the lesson to be learned here is this. When the CIA comes to you, as they did to John Ratcliffe, and says, hey, let us install Signal on your computer and on your devices. Yeah, go ahead and use that for chats. What do? You don't use it. No. And John Ratcliffe, who was on the call, or on the chat, and everybody else should be smarter than this.
So that we're clear, one of the first things that happened when I was confirmed as CIA director was Signal was loaded onto my computer at the CIA, as it is for most CIA officers. One of the things that I was briefed on very early, Senator, was by the CIA records management folks about the use of Signal as a permissible work use. It is. That is a practice that preceded the current administration to the Biden administration.
Director Ratcliffe.
And you used it? These folks were all hired by the 51 Spies Who Lie. You used it? Yeah, I thought it'd be safe. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No, there needs to be a lot more fear of the deep state here. And there's not. So you know what? The good news here is this is a nice warning shot over the bow. This is not that controversial. They need to get off signal. They need to stop using systems overseen by current CIA employees that they did not hire. That's got to go. It's too dangerous. Texter writes, Elon and his team will figure it out. I don't think Americans care. It's boring. Yeah, I'm bored by it too. I think it's just a big nothing burger. But they'll be back. This was a first hit, and they will absolutely be back. Okay. The biggest story this week, I think, is the one not getting attention. And for the life of me, I can't understand why. Jonathan Turley warned about it in a censorship hearing, and he's right. He's got his finger on the pulse. They have moved the censorship nerve center to the UK, where they're still conducting war on conservatives. That is the story. The censorship nerve center was started and funded and founded by USAID in partnership with our Pentagon and the British government. It's still the British side of it up and running. That is the story. That is the big scandal of the week, and nobody's talking about it. Common Sense Retirement Planning is where you should call right now. Yeah, no, as soon as they open this morning. Why? Because everything is changing. Every day now, we're having major market moving announcements. Some of them good, some of them not so good. In fact, it's a total mixed bag. Like yesterday, durable goods orders surged unexpectedly. Yeah, durable goods orders supposed to be down a percentage point. They were up instead. That's fantastic news. So look, you want to capitalize on any gains in the market. You want to be positioned for that. But you know what? If there's downside, I mean, the cost of automobiles, whether made here or made abroad, if Trump goes through with the tariffs, they're going to surge $3,000 to $6,000 on average a pop. Is that going to have an effect? Well, look, you need guys who live in Realville and not Rio Linda looking over your shoulder when you invest. And that's the guys at Common Sense Retirement Planning. They'd love to sit down with you for a free, no obligation consultation, help you build a Common Sense retirement roadmap with a free review. And they'd love to show you their track record. And if you want, take a look at what you've been doing. See if there's anywhere you could tighten up and both protect yourself from the downside, but also capitalize on any upside that's coming too. Find them online, csrp.info. That's csrp.info. Give them a call, 864-235-2790, csrp.info to schedule a meeting. Securities offered through Madison Avenue Securities, member FINRA, SIPC. Investing involves risk. All guarantees refer to insurance products backed by the claims paying ability of the issuing company. Couple of teens messing around. Table Rock State Park. Really curious to get details on them. Young teens, older teens, where were mom and dad? I don't know, it could be 18, 19 teens or 13, 14 teens. Nobody knows. Messing around with fire. Not deliberate arson, they're saying. Will face charges. Love to know how this fire really started. That's going to be very interesting. In the meantime, it's growing. Yeah, this is an update from less than 3 hours ago. The South Carolina wildfires, Greenville, Pickens, growing bigger than ever. I don't know if you noticed this yesterday. I was in 3 different cities. I was driving around doing stuff with my daughter, Greenville, Simpsonville, and Greer. It didn't matter where you went. You saw the haze over the upstate. Roll the window down. Yeah. Sounds like one of those backyard fires in a pit. That's what it smelled like around here. The smell of burning is everywhere. It's blanketing this place. Gives you an idea of the size and scope of it. So latest update from the Forestry Commission, the 2 large wildfires in the upstate continue to grow. One nearly doubling in size overnight. You don't want to see that. State reporting, despite ongoing efforts by the firefighters, the Table Rock Fire in Pickens County and the Persimmon Ridge Fire in Greenville County grew considerably. Table Rock Fire, I mean, this is crazy. I mean, yesterday I was reporting 2,300 acres. Now it's 4,556 acres. That's according to the South Carolina Forestry Commission. That's the latest update less than 3 hours ago. And the Persimmon Ridge Fire grew to 1,500 acres. Yeah. So, wow. 6,000 acres burning right now. You just don't want to see a fire double overnight. Now, the good news, the really good news is no injuries or deaths have been reported. So that's fantastic. I think that's why they're waiting on the charges for the teens, because the sheriff said, Sheriff Pickens County has flat out said, look, the charge is going to depend on the extent of the damage. The mandatory evacuations ordered in Greenville and Pickens counties were expanded yesterday. So look, what I would tell you is continue to watch local news stations. Listen to this one. And you can always check us out, 98.9 WORD. Just put that in. You'll get our news page. Keep it locked in there to find out, evacuations, mandatory evacuations, what's going on. Right now, the South Carolina State Fire currently has 148. It's called SC State Fire, has 148 firefighters on scene battling the blazes, but they're not winning. Not a reflection on them. It's just conditions. So up against this massive fire, they've got 20 engine companies, 9 takers, and 19 brush trucks, 3 battalion vehicles. I don't know. Ask me, they need some more help. So, and of course, you've got SLED and other agencies providing air support, water drops on both fires. But the conditions, I mean, we've got really low humidity. Really wish it would rain. It's dry out there. Stay safe. Lee Joyce writes on Nextdoor. I'm addicted to Nextdoor, by the way.
Okay.
I learned so much about Greenville, Greer, Spartanburg from Nextdoor. I mean, just shocking. It's surprising how much crime actually goes on in really nice neighborhoods here. How gangs have targeted people who leave their cars outside at night. I mean, just like all kinds of assaults, like things you wouldn't know, neighborhood to neighborhood, and folks post stuff, right? You just learn just about anything, which all kinds of crazy stuff going on in Greenville. Nextdoor really does a better job covering the news, honestly, than like almost local news ever possibly could, because it's just people reporting what's going on in their neighborhood. Joyce writes in Heritage Lake, so that's a subdivision off Highway 14 and Woodruff Road. Listen to this. I was rinsing my vehicle from the pollen in it, and then I spotted ashes falling all around me. They weren't big flakes, but big enough that I saw many of them falling and drifting around, and man, does it smell like fire outside. That's incredible. Highway 14 and Woodruff Road is where that subdivision, I actually know where that subdivision is. Just wow. So, and I noticed that yesterday too, driving around. I mean, if you've ever had a backyard, like kind of fun s'mores sort of fire, the whole county smells like that. And I was running errands yesterday. So I was in Simpsonville and Greer and Greenville, whole county. Wherever you went, didn't matter. Smelled like fire.
Yep.
And I got to tell you, to me, it got really scary overnight. I mean, I'm on the forestry, website right now. When you see that it doubled in size overnight, the Table Rock fire doubled overnight. This is accelerating. You got to ask yourself, what if it doubles overnight again? They could lose control of this thing. And you see doubled overnight, because yesterday on the air, and I know you were too, we were reporting around 2,300 acres, right? Well, it's 4,556 right now and growing. 4,556, containment 0%. And that containment stat has not changed. I know you were talking about, obviously up in North Carolina, they're making some progress on it. We talked about that, but separate fires.
There, but it's not good though, but it's, not great. But it is good that they're making some progress there. But it's, once again, this is terrain is much of the problem. And then of course the fallen trees in those areas. It still stuns me when you look at the widespread devastation from Hurricane Helene that is still out there. I mean, I've got trees in the woods behind my yard that I'll never be able to clear. I mean, you can't afford to have folks come in there and clear that. The fallen trees, the huge things that are blown over with the big dirt clods, where the trees have just, the entire tree is toppled over. I mean, but you see that all over the upstate. I see that everywhere. I had to go to Seneca yesterday for a doctor's appointment and taking some back roads to get up there, and just everywhere. And I mean, you drive these roads and there's huge trees where people have, cut them with a chainsaw or whatever to get them at least out of the roadway, but they're right there on the edge of the roads. And I see this everywhere.
Me too. And
everywhere.
Like if you don't pay attention and you go a little too close to that line, you might hit the trees.
Yes, you could.
And I talk about that all the time when I'm talking about Terra Tree Works. It's like, it's unbelievable. They could be removing debris from Helene literally for the next few years. That's how much there is. That's just what I see on my way home. So you've got all of that there. Perfect conditions. It's dry. Just praying that we get significant rain this weekend. But when you've got the size of just the Table Rock fire doubling overnight, it's like, God, do we even have time to wait for this fire?
Well,
But I mean, this water, I mean, it's not going to hit till Saturday. I'm looking right now, just real quick, and I'll let you react to it. Saturday, right now, they've got it now a 7% chance of rain. It doesn't hit 76% until Sunday. That's a long time to wait.
Well, and like I said, the terrain and the available fuel for the fire is the issue. Luckily, for the most part, this is relatively a less populated area, and it appears that the fire crews are trying to do their best to save structures at this point. That may be part of the reason why the containment level is still at 0 on the Table Rock fire, because they're trying to make sure that they protect structures, which that's the important, protecting life and structures. That's got to be the main thing there.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And you've also got obviously the Persimmons fire.
Persimmon Ridge fire.
Yes. Exactly. Persimmon Ridge Fire, and that one is at 1,500 acres right now, and that's 0% contained too. Then you get the 3 separate ones in North Carolina. It could be a little confusing. Those are truly separate fires. One of them is mystery how it started. The other 2 were down power lines. And just the wind. I mean, the wind we've had lately, like the last week, it's just been like, I've never seen anything like it. Not back to back. I mean, we have some days that are super windy, but day after day after day after day. I mean, it's been a week and a half of it. So
there were several days there where a stretch there where I've got a little weather station there, and it was showing me gusts of like 24, 25 miles an hour, which that doesn't sound like that fast for a vehicle, but for winds, that's pretty darn significant.
Yes. Yeah, it is. So, and I used Grok to scour the internet because I wanted to see the teens that started the Table Rock fire. I double checked this to see, like, have we gotten their ages yet? I'm very curious about their age. If their ages have not been released, they have not been published. I'm curious if it's going to be like 13, 14, 15, or if it's going to be like, then we're going, where is mom and dad? How did you start this fire? So it's going to be like 18, 19 teens. And I'm getting some tips on how the fire started, but I don't want to repeat them because I don't know if it's true. I'm dying to know how this fire started. They're saying it wasn't arson, like deliberate arson, like, hey, we set it on purpose. It was negligent. But what a mess they caused. What a disaster. I can't find anywhere, and tell me, Lee, forgive me as I'm trying to figure out where to find this, but it doesn't look like any structures at all have burned.
I'm not certain about that either. And
I tried Grok, and I can't find it.
Been able to find a whole lot of information on that. There was one of the TV stations around here that was interviewing someone they claimed to have had their house burned down. And I'm not trying to diminish that if it happened, obviously tragic situation. But like you said, we're having difficulty finding any confirmation from officials that any residences have burned. So
I'll tell you what's on the text line, okay? And I just read the text line, doesn't mean I agree, disagree, but a lot of people are saying, like this one, Tara, I have great respect for the firefighters, and I know they're doing their very best, but I cannot understand how it has gotten so out of control with zero containment over the last 8 or 9 days. It feels like they're just letting it burn everything. We have so many lakes, and yet I saw on the news they are using their smallest bucket to throw water on it from a helicopter. Some other folks pointing out, look, the opportunity to contain this thing was squandered when it was at 8 or 9 acres. Tara, great show as always. Thank you. The opportunity to put the Table Rock fire out was squandered on the first day when it was reported an 8 or 9 acre fire. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. All I can say is I realize that these things can spread very quickly, and getting assets to them takes time. It is not instantaneous. You don't have air assets sitting around waiting on something it would be nice if we did, but we could not possibly afford that. And I do know that the Air National Guard, we've seen the Air National Guard have a couple of Chinook helicopters that are dumping water on this. I've read that there's some other, I assume these are contractors that are running some single engine turboprop planes that are, putting some water on these and fire retardant as well. But it's once again, the terrain for the firefighters themselves is what is making it so difficult, because it is a very mountainous terrain. And of course, once again, all the trees down makes it extremely difficult to get to. There's because much of this, you don't have a nice little road or even a dirt road to get to. I mean, these are wilderness, wild, forested areas.
Texture rates, is there a map of the fire somewhere online? The best one,
South Carolina Forestry Commission.
It's SCFC, South Carolina Forestry Commission, like you said, SCFC .fireresponse.com.
Yeah, they've got a very good setup there. I mean, you can zero in on the maps and everything, but no, actually, the website there, very good. I was just on it a few minutes ago looking at it, and it's pretty detailed. It shows you the exact areas. And you can also see about the areas where the evacuations have been ordered, which in Greenville and Pickens counties, we couldn't possibly mention on the air the areas that are included, because it is so numerous. But there are, evacuation areas for specific roadways and locations in Greenville and Pickens County that are listed there.
The best resource I've found so far, Lee, is Private Citizen put it up. It's a website, and it's excellent. It's really up to date. It's called tablerock.help. So Table Rock, all one word, tablerock.help. And obviously you put https:// www. Tablerock.help. And they've got just very, very up to date, everything you could need right there on the front. Whether you're evacuating, you want to check the latest on the fire, whether they've contained it, all of that kind of stuff. Evacuation roads and routes that are open to get out, which is the first link, which is so important. And that one's updated. The Pickens County evacuation roads, the ones you can use and the ones you cannot, evacuation shelters, and obviously news stations covering this as well. So yeah. But seeing that fire double in size overnight, wow. If it doubles in size again tonight, I mean, you do not want to see that kind of growth. Not when people in subdivisions, Highway 14, and in Greer and Highway 14 Woodruff Road are seeing ash fall on them while they're washing their cars and kind of going, well, it's not even point to wash my car right now. We've got ash in the air. That's not good. Well, news update just out. South Carolina Forestry Commission, Table Rock fire doubled in size last night, overnight. That's incredible. So I was sitting here this time yesterday reporting on the fire. Just when we mentioned it was about 2,300 acres, 0% contained. It is now 4,500 acres, it was 2,300 acres, 0% contained. Now it is 4,500, almost 4,600 acres, 0% contained. Also 0% contained. We have some better progress up in North Carolina, a little bit better putting that out. And again, for those just tuning in, the Persimmon Ridge fire, 1,553 acres and growing, 0% contained. Folks starting to ask the question, given that, what I'm seeing on the text line, again, people saying, oh my gosh, what if it doubles tonight? Can they handle this? Are they in over their head? I'm just asking the question. This is what folks are saying on the text line. Text writes, my neighbor called me at 5:30. Asked if we saw the smoke at 6 p.m. I could see and smell the smoke. We live in Gray Court. Another texter writes, are the fire departments taking any volunteers? Good question. I do not know. Another texter writes, if it makes you feel any better, when Yellowstone was burning in the late 1980s, we had smoke and a lot of ash in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Ash in our area is sadly typical. Texter writes, we saw ash in Welford yesterday. Another texter writes, I'm a mail carrier in Simpsonville, and all I can smell is smoke. Another texter writes, hey, we shouldn't have talked smack. They actually use a curse word, but I can't say it on the air. We shouldn't have talked all that smack about California, talking about the wildfires. We can't do any better. Another texter writes, when California lights up with fires, other states send help. The governor calls out the National Guard, but our fire departments are on their own. Another texter writes, the issue using helicopters and planes to put out the fire is the high wind. They can't fly when that's going on. The water they're dropping is sitting on top of the trees. The ground underneath is still burning. Another texter to the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line, 800-905-0989. Tara, I was at a friend's house 2 nights ago, and there was ash falling on my truck in Inman on Lebanon Road from the Seize Your Head fire. Another texter writes that they are also tracking the size of the fires on Google Maps. You could check Google Maps. You could see there the area affected and the extension of smoke. Again, and I don't want to be too repetitive here, but a great website that I've found that you can go to is put together by a local here. I just had it up. Where'd it go? Here we go. And it's Table Rock, all one word, tablerock.help. And one of the really valuable things there is not just the list of mandatory evacuation sites, which is so long, I'm not even going to try to read it. But they also have evacuation roads, and that's constantly updated. So in other words, routes that are open that you can use to evacuate. And they have that for Greenville County, but also for Pickens County. And of course, evacuation shelters. Looks like there's just one of those right now, Marietta First Baptist Church. On the Gear Highway in, obviously, Marietta. But seeing that fire double in size, I've kind of got a question at this point. If I'm the governor, I'm going to be here on the ground. That's at this point, this is headed toward the disaster zone. I'm going to be here on the ground. And I'm going to make sure that this thing gets taken care of. That's what I'd do if I was in the governor's mansion. It's going to be very interesting to see if we hear from, if the governor physically shows up, like Gavin Newsom did. That guy's a dweeb and pretty useless, but he showed up. Where's Henry? Where's the Columbia crew? Because overnight, this thing, I mean, to me, that's spinning out of control again. I mean, we double overnight. We're going to have a major problem here. And yeah, folks basically just noting that and starting to notice, holy cow. Texter rates, hey, Tara, I saw a fire truck from North Myrtle Beach in Tiara yesterday, headed for Table Rock. That's good. Another texter rates, we can see and smell smoke all the way from Boiling Springs. Y'all, texter rates, Tara, the ash in Welford isn't from the fires, but meth cooking. Sure about that? Yeah, another texter writes, worked off Pelham Road near 14 mid-afternoon yesterday. We had smoke and ash in the air. Wow, this is crazy. Okay, I came in yesterday with black spots all over my face. Thought it was makeup, but then I remembered I wasn't wearing any. It was ash. And finally, texter writes, I'm kind of surprised Lieutenant Governor Evett hasn't come home to be on the scene. Oh, this is, I read this real quick. It just came in. Tara, I was in the fire service for over 20 years and everybody is kind of correct. They are not fighting the fire on the front right now. The area is too rugged for that. That makes sense. Basically, they've backed off quite a ways and have the cut fire breaks. And that is their next chance to get any control over this fire. If it jumps that, then they back up and try it again. Yeah. What a mess. Okay, major breaking news. U.S. authorities have captured the top MS-13 leader for the entire U.S. East Coast. I'd love to join this in progress. Let's see if they're gonna if I can do this. Hold on, we got Kash Patel's talking
And
right now.
right here, I'm proud, and I think the governor knows I'm biased, having graduated from the University of Richmond, to have this here in the state of Virginia, here in our Northern Virginia resident agency, with our partnership with our Washington field office and our special agents, our SOS folks, our intel analysts, and our support staff. My priority has been law enforcement across the country, and that will not change. But law enforcement across the country cannot be done just by Washington, D.C. and the federal government alone. This task force was stood up 1 month ago. In 1 month, the brave men and women on this task force from state, local, and federal authorities have arrested 342 criminals in the state of Virginia alone. We wanted this to be a successful model. It is a successful model because of you, because of your men and women on the streets. We have the easy job in Washington, D.C. You take it to the max every single day. You put your safety on the line. You put your selfless desires ahead of going home and seeing your families at night because you care more.
And that's Kash Patel. Obviously, they are saying they just captured the top MS-13 leader for the whole U.S. East Coast. We do not have his name yet. They say he's just 24 years old. They arrested him in Woodbridge, Virginia, just south of Washington, D.C. Attorney General Pam Bondi, FBI Director Kash Patel watched the arrest unfold from a nearby Tactical Operations Center. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, Senior DOJ official Emerald Bove were also present. They executed a clean, safe operation. The bad guys in custody. Thanks to the FBI, we got one of the worst MS-13 off the streets this morning. And you just heard Kash Patel there saying, look, we did this in 8 weeks, and really this particular task force only been up and running 4 weeks. It's just a matter of will, folks. Democrats didn't have any will because in their minds, MS-13 leaders are fellow travelers. They are the ones who bring them their voters. They're not going to interfere with that. Do you remember in the early days of the Trump administration when they just went and picked up a whole rash of terrorists, gangbangers, all of them illegal immigrants? And J.D. Vance was asked, like, wow, how did you guys get them so fast? I mean, you just took office it was like 72 hours before, and they hit the streets and they got them. Remember what Vance said at the time about how they were able to pick them up so fast?
You ask what is shocking to me? It's that many of these violent criminals, we knew their addresses, we knew their names. We just needed to send somebody to go to their house and get them the hell out of the country. That really should shock the American people.
We've known where they are.
Exactly.
And we've known they've had terror ties.
We've known at least that they had violent criminal backgrounds, and we haven't done anything until about 8 days ago when Donald Trump became the president of the United States again. It really should shock the conscience of the American people. One of the things you heard on the campaign trail, one of the criticisms of me and of the president was, well, yes, we have 20 million illegal aliens. We have close to 1 million violent criminal illegal aliens, and we don't know where they are. It turns out we actually do know where a lot of them are. We just haven't had immigration enforcement, and that's what's changed so radically.
Yeah. We just haven't had immigration enforcement. Other news too. I mean, there's just been so much. What was the date on this one? I mean, this is the same thing. The FBI's most wanted top 10 are now in custody. This was March 23rd, okay? 4 days ago. This was in my B stack. The FBI's most wanted top 10 are all now in custody. Before I got into this seat, do you know how many most wanted were arrested by the FBI? 0. 4 weeks in, we got 3, he said, and we're just warming up. So, folks, this is a matter of will. And when you have an FBI that is more worried about censoring and going after the political enemies of the Democrat Party, an FBI that is hands off with terrorists and illegal immigrants because it sees them as fellow travelers, and you don't have real leadership, this is what happens. So Glenn Youngkin speaking now. And again, according to them, we'll find out more about this guy. It's going to be interesting to see if he's here legally or not. They haven't said. This guy, 24 years old, was the top MS-13 leader for the entire East Coast. He was just 24 years old, whoever he is. So it's going to be interesting to find out what his name is, what his face is, and I'll have that as soon as that's break. But that's breaking news right now. In fact, again, folks, we don't have problems. We have problems created by Washington, D.C. and the Democrat Party. And folks, here's the interesting thing about this too. I'll pull this up. This is just the latest survey out there, new poll on Trump's mass deportation agenda. Pew Research Center. Okay, so definitely a liberal pollster. What percentage of Americans agree with the Democrats? Which percentage of Americans agree with Trump? When you ask Americans, do you agree with deporting at least some illegal aliens? 97% agree. So Democrats are with 3%. Now listen to this. When you ask Americans, what percentage of you, do you want to deport no one? What is the percentage of Americans that agree with the Democrats? None. Percent who say no, this is the exact wording, percent who say no illegal immigrants living in the U.S. Okay. Percentage who say no immigrants living in the U.S. illegally should be deported is just 16%. So this is the major push of the Democrat Party. Trump is a Nazi for wanting to pick up these illegals. How many, the best number for the Democrats in this entire poll in terms of agreement with them, 16%. So again, as Trump keeps pointing out, Democrats on the wrong side of 80-20 issues. Wrong side. And when you're talking about Boston earlier this week, they picked up 400 criminals in Boston, including 9 people who were wanted for either rape, child rape. We've got people wanted for homicide who are illegal immigrants. They were allowed to bond out tiny amounts of money, some of them less than $1,000 because you got $7,500 bail. You put $750 down. They let you walk out the door. ICE begged them, let us pick them up at the jail. We will detain them for you, Michelle Wu. And the Democrats there in Boston and in Massachusetts said, no, we're not doing that. No, let them go. We don't see them as any different from Americans. Who agrees with them? 16% of the population. And that 97% figure, 97% said illegal aliens who were charged or convicted of violent crimes should be deported. So on that one, on protecting violent criminals, the percentage of Americans who agree with Democrats, 3%. And this is a liberal pollster. It's probably half that in reality. The Democrats here just, let them keep pushing it. Let them keep pushing it. And, folks, let me tell you something. These Democrats need to look at these polls. Donald Trump hit his second lowest numbers in terms of approval. And I believe them because they were from Rasmussen. I believe they're polling now. Rasmussen has him very popular, over 50%. Fox News has him below 50%. I believe Rasmussen. But Rasmussen, a year ago in January, had Donald Trump at his second lowest rating ever. The only time he was more lowly rated was January 6th, around there. That was January a year ago. Okay, so what are we talking? Maybe 15 months ago? What changed that for Donald Trump? And I'd like to tell you some brilliant speech he gave or something, but no, it was the lawfare by the Democrats. It was. Facing 700 years, very obvious judge selection problems like we're seeing right now with Boasberg. Where, gosh darn, there were 20 federal judges in the District of D.C. that Trump could have gotten. He gets Boasberg again. There's a 1 in 20 chance of that. People don't like this, and they're doing it again. And when you're cashing in the rest of your political capital trying to save Tren de Aragua, not just some illegal immigrants, Tren de Aragua. Looks like lawfare. Looks like lawfare. But they would rather stand with the 3% than the 97% because they have disdain for America. They do. You know what's interesting about this press conference watching right now, live on Fox News, celebrating getting the top MS-13 leader on the East Coast? There isn't a single Democrat politician standing there. Not one. Yet not a single Democrat present, not one, for the press conferences live right now on Fox News, celebrating the FBI and the DOJ capturing what they say it's just in Virginia is the top MS-13 leader for the entire East Coast. No word on his immigration status. While the Democrats fight tooth and nail to hold on to Trinidad Aragua, and we wait to find out what side the Supreme Court is going to be on, America's or the globalist open borders order. Keep fighting, Democrats. Keep fighting. Keep those Trinidad Aragua Chavistas here. And I'll tell you why there's no Democrats standing there. I'll tell you why. Because they're on the side of the illegal immigrants, because the way they look at illegal immigrants, these are the fellow travelers who bring us our future voters that are going to finally vanquish these Republicans and give us total rule, total power. That's how they look at it. They're not going to stand there. They don't want to send any message whatsoever to MS-13 or Trinidad Aragua or any of these gangs bringing them their voters, because they do not want to convey the message, hey, if you show up here, you might spend the rest of your life in prison, because they want them to continue to bring the voters. That's how they look at them. Future voters, fellow travelers. And overnight you had Boasberg, his ruling upheld, even though Bill Barr, former Department of Justice head, who and a real snake, even admitted, Trump has a right to use the Alien Enemies Act to deport these people without a hearing. So the question now that DC Circuit has upheld Boasberg's ruling, in other words, they're not going to reverse it. Supreme Court going to let that stand? They could. And Trump will not be able to fly anybody else to El Salvador. Folks, why does Trump have to fly these people to El Salvador? Why not just deport them? Because he can. Maduro is accepting flights. He can fly them back to Venezuela. Why does he not want to do that? You need to listen to my Battleground America podcast from earlier in this week on Trinidad Aragua. Trump is so afraid of these monsters. He's afraid to let them go in Venezuela because he's afraid they will be back. Why? They are Chavistas. And I go deep into this, why the Democrats are so obsessed with this gang, they would alienate America over it. Because they're not just thugs. They are socialists and communists. They don't just defend their own criminal activity, they defend the party. Their leaders are ideological fellow travelers. Let me tell you how that works. Because I'm telling you, the Democrats would love to have this in America. They would love to have this. This is why they particularly love Trinidad Aragua. The reason Maduro is still in power there, despite winning, and the UN acknowledges, about 30% of the vote. His opponent crushed him, but he's still in power. Why? Because of the Chavistas. They're not called Trinidad Aragua there. They're called Chavistas. Chavistas are the only people with guns. They are criminals, and they defend the party to the death. Their first loyalty is the party, and then the party is loyal to them and lets them control the criminal scene. And when Maduro won but really lost, the people were so outraged they came into the street briefly to protest, and the Chavistas gunned them down. And there were no more protests after about 72 hours. You want to see the Chavistas at work, Trinidad Aragua, when they're not here taking over apartment complexes? Go on X. Pull up the videos. Just gunning down mothers, fathers, crowds with children in them, peacefully protesting to protect the party and their criminal empires. That's what Democrats want here. And that's what Judge Boasberg is protecting. And that is why they made sure Trump got Judge Boasberg. Now, Amy Coney Barrett and Chief Justice Roberts, they got to decide, are you with America or are you with the Chavistas? And I honestly don't know what way it'll go right now. That's really sad. Well, Trump says he's doing it, Lee, going for it. 25% tariffs on cars not made here. And this rapidly starts to get kind of confusing. Basically say your car is made in Canada, but the parts were made in America, right? If say 50% of the parts were made in America, but it's a Canadian car coming over the border, well, then the tariff is not 25%, it's 12.5. It's cut in half. So this thing is, it's not as simple as 25% off the top if it comes over the border. It depends on what products you made it with, where those products were from, where's the supply chain for those products and stuff like that. Cheryl Cassoni, though, reporting on Fox News this morning that cars made in America are expected to go up $3,000 on average. Cars not made in America are expected to go up in price $6,000 on average. And about 50% of the cars sold in America are actually made in America. One of the things that's going to be really interesting here, and this is kind of an unknown, at least I can't really find it anywhere. A lot of these automakers already have facilities in America. Like they may be importing some cars, but they've got assembly lines for others, and it's the same automaker. In other words, some are made in Europe, some are made here. And then the question becomes, how quickly can they expand their production lines here in America? How quickly can they build out supply chain in America for the parts? And do they bother is the next question. Because all of their opponents are going to get hit. Their competition, they're going to get hit with the tariffs too. And I opened the show with this morning. Here's my question. Okay, if I'm a if I'm a Japanese auto executive, I'm talking to Donald Trump because Japan is about to get wrecked. Japanese car makers, Zero Hedge has this morning, face catastrophic profit hit from Trump's auto tariffs. As Bloomberg notes, South Korea's Hyundai to Germany's Volkswagen to lesser extent America's own General Motors. Many of the world's most prominent car makers will soon face higher costs. And 46% of all new cars sold in the U.S. are imported. Japan's going to get hit the hardest with that because they have a really domestic auto industry. Okay. If I'm Japan, I'm on the phone with Trump. Here's what I'm saying. This is just me. Okay. I'm not going to say this publicly. I don't want to piss the guy off. God knows what he'll do. Right. I'm going to say to him, look, if you want me to move my production facility to America, I've got to be able to do the math. I've got to be able to figure out what are my costs. Can I profitably manufacture in America? And here's my problem. If Republicans don't win the 28 election, Democrats are going to come in. They're going to sign another executive order first day, and they are going to go to war with me. They're going to cause a bloodbath. Sir, that was your words to describe what Democrats were doing to the auto industry with their executive orders mandating that automakers make electric vehicles instead of, gas-powered vehicles. You called it a bloodbath if you weren't elected. Well, sir, you're only going to be in office 4 years. It's going to take me 5 years to roll my facility over. Can you guarantee me Democrats will not bankrupt me in 28? It's what I would ask. That would be my first question, Lee. My second question to Trump, and I don't know how he's going to get past this. This is my second question, would be this. You just oversaw a loss of 80,000 manufacturing jobs in the United States of America because of energy prices, largely due to the Democrats. Now, I know you're doing a lot with energy. You just signed an executive order to go back to, using clean coal, but we just saw Joe Biden put all of these energy sources off limits. In other words, it froze the permitting process. So natural gas that we should be in the exploration phase for, those permits are frozen. You're not going to have a supply of energy for me in 5 years. Democrats come back in, it's not going forward. I don't even know what I manufacture with. I can't figure out my energy prices. I can't figure out my energy costs. It's impossible. Democrats come back in. I mean, the goal under Joe Biden, 0% coal use by 2030. When Obama took office, coal was 40% of our energy mix. This is why energy prices, Lee, under Joe Biden, energy prices went up 29%. And I would say if I was the CEO, I'd say to Trump, look, I'd love to move, but you got to do something for me, bud. You got to help me here. And the first thing I'd point out is this. I would point straight to the Republican leadership in the Senate, because this article in The Hill was devastating this week. And it's John Thune, Lindsey Graham, and all of them telling Trump they don't have time to pass his agenda. 3 big bills he needs. One's a budget bill. The other one is an energy bill. So we would get the coal so we can compete with India and China and Mexico, which is using coal to cheaply manufacture cars. You guys going to run the energy bill through? Well, John Thune says he's too busy. GOP leaders won't pass your energy bill, sir. So not only that, not only do I not know my energy costs because the Democrats might win in 28, Republicans won't even move your energy plan. What do you say, sir? I'd love to move. I can't. So you want to talk about who's sabotaging this right now? Number one, John Thune, GOP leader in the Senate. And here's the other problem, Lee, and I want to see what you think of this because I know you know a lot about the subject. Here's the other problem that we have right now is all of those natural gas permits that we need for the next generation of natural gas, where we should be exploring right now, were put off limits by Joe Biden, okay? The way federal law works, he can do that executively. It takes a new law to reopen them. Trump can't do it executively. So right now, the thing we need to win this trade war, which will, I agree with Trump, be a bumper crop for American manufacturing, we need John Thune to get off his butt and move that energy legislation.
Yep.
That's what we need. And if I was a Japanese automaker, I'd say, sir, your own party won't even move energy legislation. I just read in The Hill that they're so busy, they may not even, July at the earliest, but that's not going to happen. It's probably going to go into the fall. They've been in office 3 months. They've done nothing. I'm going to tell you why. I'm not going to, I'll just stop here. But bottom line is these guys are Bush era recruitees of Karl Rove, where it was thought to be smart to deliberately export American manufacturing that started with Daddy Bush so that we could operate as a trade bloc, Mexico, North American trade bloc, that we would begin, if we could erase America's borders and export the manufacturing, you could export the borders and the sovereignty, have open borders, and we would compete with Europe. They are still on that plan, and they are sabotaging Trump through energy. It's holding up the energy legislation.
Yeah, I mean, you're right about that. That's a major concern,
Yeah,
obviously,
it's huge.
for any of the manufacturers that want to build new plants here. You've got to have the energy, and it's got to be electricity.
We don't have it right now.
They've either got to be able to purchase it,
Yep,
or be able to build their own. and if you have that, then of course that increased the cost of that manufacturing plant there. But yeah, that's. And you're right. This is something that Republicans should be working on now. If you really are wanting to back the president, that's something that ought to be in the pipeline now, if you'll excuse the pun on energy.
yeah,
pipeline.
really. Now, if you remember something, people don't realize this. George W. Bush, his entire presidency, all 8 years, he was dedicated to locking up no oil drilling, no natural gas drilling, no permits. He was as bad as Biden. People don't realize that. It wasn't until the last 6 months of his that he started saying, hey, we're going to start allowing these permits. We're going to start, we are going to start drilling. Well, he got the ball rolling last 6 months for some reason. I don't know why. But Obama came and put the whole kibosh on the whole thing. So when Japanese correctly are looking at this, and when other auto manufacturers, even European ones who can move here, are looking at this, you're going to say, Mr. President, your party is not going to provide me with the energy I need. I read The Hill. Show me you can move legislation. Well, shoot, they don't even have any in the House right now. Although Mike Johnson at least is open to it. And this is a major problem. And you know what we need to do? We need to educate people on this. We need to use X and massive pressure to begin putting the pressure on John Thune, on Lindsey Graham, on Tim Scott, who is utterly AWOL right now, on everything. I don't even know where that guy is. I don't even know what he does. Nothing. AWOL. Well, John Thune snickers at Trump and plays the Paul Ryan role. Oh, us? No, we don't have time. Sorry about your little agenda there. And by the way, Lee, if they can run it to the fall, right? If they can delay to the fall, then they will start saying, well, we're headed into midterms. I mean, we can't do anything controversial.
Yeah, that's always the
They're
excuse.
undermining
And
it.
it's like, you know
And
what?
us.
If you don't do something controversial, then you're going to alienate your base. And guess what? You're going to lose an election.
That's the goal, because that is the goal. And they feel like we can finally wash Trump era populism out and go back to globalism.
And well, I'm just telling you, though, they do that, the Republican Party's dead. It's dead. It's gone, because
that's what they're trying to do. They'd rather
Trump
be a minority
backers
party.
Will say, we're done with you. We'll find something else. And you know, they're not going to go vote Democrat, but they'll run third party candidates, and they'll dilute the Republican base vote, and you get Democrats elected. That'll be the result.
But there's one thing I've learned, Lee. It's one thing I've learned. You do not bet against Donald Trump, okay?
No.
5 criminal cases, 700 years in prison this guy was facing, and he was at his second lowest approval ratings ever, and that was 15 months ago. So that's one thing I've learned. You don't vote against, you don't bet against Donald Trump. But this is the main problem he's having right now. And let me tell you what, John Thune gave that interview to The Hill this week as a signal to automakers, knowing this was coming, to signal to manufacturers. He's trying to force them to move to the U.S. with these tariffs. Thune saying, I can't offer you guaranteed energy in America. So sorry. Might want to stay at home. Just stay where you are. Yeah, we don't want manufacturing. I'm a Bush guy. If you're out and about, excuse me. If you're out and about right now, you are noticing the smell, the haze over the entire upstate. Folks texting in from all across the upstate, including one woman yesterday. A lot of people have seen this too. She went out to wash the pollen off her car and realized she was seeing ashes in the air. Not big, but ashes nonetheless from that fire. Why that becomes so, I mean, there's been kind of the underlying smell. I noticed it yesterday afternoon when I was out. That just smells like somebody in your neighborhood's having a backyard fire, except nobody is. It's because Table Rock's on fire. Persimmon Ridge is on fire. Why yesterday afternoon did that start becoming so noticeable? Well, it's because overnight the size of the fire doubled. 0% contained. So that's a little alarming, given, just everything we know is going on with very low humidity. I just checked the weather forecast. Yeah, and it's looking like the first day of rain now is Saturday. Yeah, let's see. Well, they're saying possibly some rain around 10 a.m. Not gonna be a lot, about 1/4 inch. But yeah. Anyway, so that's good. I hadn't seen that yet. The next real rain is Saturday, but they're putting it at 8% chance. And the first true rainy days, we need a good, long, solid day of rain. It's Sunday. And it's looking like that will stretch into Monday. So that's good, but are we going to see this fire double in size again overnight? 0% containment. I mean, it does not sound like they have this at all. It does not sound like they have this under control. Now, that's not a criticism. It just, I'm kind of wondering, this is starting to look sketchy here. And just to give you some ideas, so this time yesterday, I was on the air, was reporting 2,300 acres burning. In one of the first fire, the Table Rock fire, the second fire, the Persimmon Ridge fire. Now at 1,500, the Table Rock fire has doubled to 4,500. It was 23 yesterday. That's not good. 0% contained. So that's why all of a sudden people looking around. I mean, we just read a next door post from a woman who lives in a neighborhood that's at Highway 14 and Woodruff Road. And she's like, holy cow, I'm seeing ash in the air and smoke. Yeah, that's what happens when a fire doubles in size. So hope they got this. Folks, if you're looking for a great place to find information all in one place, check this out, tablerock.help. It's www.tablerock.help. It's just a local who's put this together, but it's excellent stuff, really well updated. One of the key things on there is the evacuation roads. So for Greenville County and for Pickens County, and that's updated. And they also have a South Carolina Forestry Commission, so you could look at the map and see where the fire is and percent contained. Just kind of keep your eye on it overnight. And a lot of other stuff that you need there. And again, that Table Rock fire, and I just updated it. Still 0% contained, doubled since yesterday. So, I mean, I got to tell you, I had a text earlier, and, just saying, wow, we spent a lot of time talking about California. The whole country did, and what a mess that was. This doesn't look that different. Texter rates Tira, we live on Lake Bowen in Inman and are seeing several bald eagles in our trees. They're fleeing the fires. Wow. Texter rates, I like the smell of wood fires, but I don't like the thought of the forest fires, so I have to tell myself not to like the smell. Yeah, I like that smell too. It's a great woodsy smell, but not under these circumstances. Texter rates, the former Speaker of Congress lied to us about everything that he promised the base. How long are we going to deal with these GOP liars? Look, folks, a come to Jesus is going to have to happen between Trump and these Republican Congress members. I'm going to get back into tariffs and kind of what's going on here. And the bottom line is, and we had a great text on this. Here we go. Oh, here we go. This is the heart of it, okay? If you want to understand everything, like our side tends to blame Clinton for NAFTA, but go Google who signs NAFTA. It was H.W. Bush. That was the one world government he wanted to create. It was the globalism he wanted to create. The Bush movement. Keep in mind, the Bush family's controlled Republican Congress for more than Republican politics for more than 25 years. They're globalists. And the one thing, it's like with a religious fervor with them, they hate is sovereignty for this country. They hate it with a passion. And this texter understands this. This is brilliant. Writing, taking down trade barriers is about constructing world government. Yes. Mass immigration, legal and illegal, is about creating one people for that world government. Dang, that is brilliant. Do you mind if I steal that from you and retweet it? People just need to understand that. Taking down this, and I would put national trade barriers. Taking down national trade barriers is about constructing world government. That's what he was doing. He literally told us he was construct world government. What did he do? He signed NAFTA. December 17th, 1992. What did NAFTA do? It was not an accident. It deliberately pushed American manufacturing out of our cities and our towns. Pushed it to Canada, pushed it to Mexico, incentivized it, gutted the American manufacturing class. Why? Because the thought was that if American manufacturing could be pushed out of America into Canada and Mexico in particular, and that's what NAFTA incentivized, then North America, the North American Free Trade Union, which was Bush's goal, would begin to function as one borderless unit. And that is why when George W. Bush was the governor of Texas, you want to know who pioneered open borders? It wasn't Obama. It was George W. Bush, his son. And what Bush did, there were state parks that abutted the border. I'll never forget this. And he signed an executive order as governor forbidding the Border Patrol from coming onto that state-owned land. And it backed right up to the border. So what did he created? An illegal immigration superhighway. 100,000 a year would go through even just one of their state parks. Absolutely trampled it. Destroyed the flora, the fauna, endangered species. He didn't care. And that's why I screamed so loudly, dear God, we don't need this guy as president. Ann Coulter got it absolutely right. What a nightmare. But we didn't have conservative media then. We didn't know what we were electing. So when you see all of these senators like John Thune, who leads the Senate now, who are Bush recruitees, who came in during that era, who are loyal to that fundraising base, these globalists have raised money for them all these years. Why is John Thune announcing this week, 2 days ago, right ahead of these tariffs? Why is he announcing, hey, I am so busy. I do not have time to get Trump's energy bill through. Oh, I don't have time. He's sending a signal to all these CEOs. Yeah, Trump's going to tariff you if you don't move your manufacturing facilities here, but you're not going to have cheap energy. I'm blocking it. Why? He's a Bush guy. Their goal is to export American manufacturing and bring in global government. That's what he was hired for. What every fundraiser for. You do that for the Bush people, all you got to do for a $200,000 a pop fundraiser is show up. They'll raise you $200,000. I'll tell you, you don't have to do anything but stab the American people in the back. That's what John Thune's doing. So why did he time that to this week, saying how very busy he is? He's not busy. Shoot. Nancy Pelosi wrote the budget in the House a couple years ago. All we do is pass it again. We send it over there. They passed it. He don't have a damn thing to do right now. They've been back since January 3rd. He's trying to stop the Trump trade agenda to keep the manufacturing off our shores. We are hemorrhaging manufacturing jobs right now. We net lost 80,000 under Joe Biden. It's because of energy prices. We're never going to beat them on the cost of labor. We never will. And that's okay if we can match the energy prices of India and Mexico, and we can. And that's why John Thune is telling the world, don't move your facilities here. The Republicans can't even guarantee you an energy bill. But we got something we've never had. We have X. We need to begin to expose these people and take them to the woodshed. Texter writes, hey, Tara, here's what we do. We go ahead and buy a big yellow ribbon and a giant scissors and stand in front of the fire. And maybe, just maybe, McMaster will show up. Hey, at least Gavin Newsom showed up. It's going to be interesting to see if McMaster bothers. Now that the fire has doubled in size overnight. Texter writes, Helene didn't get rid of us, so now they're burning us out. Another texter writes, hey, Tara, I called the Crosswell Fire Department on an idiot burning construction debris on Highway 124. I hope the freaking moron was arrested. Yeah, right now there's a burn ban. You can't burn anything. The governor's put that in place to his credit. I live in Polk County, North Carolina. Another texter writes, opposite side of the county from the fires. The smoke is extremely bad this morning. Yes, it is. The texter writes, Tara, great show as always. The 0% containment of these fires is yet another example of government failure. From local to federal, the folks making decisions are not the best and the brightest. Maximum resources should have been deployed the first day, given the location and the terrain. Ultimately, this falls on we the people as it flows down from those of us we allow to be elected. Yes. Texter writes, Tara, several years ago, I sent you Zbigniew Brzezinski's book, Info America in the Teutonic Age, was an overall plan to get manufacturing out of the USA. The book was written in the late 1960s. Ross Perot warned us about the sucking sound of jobs leaving this country. This is not new news. Well, no, it's not. But what is new is what watching the pieces move on the board, okay? Look, we have slayed the Bush regime in that Bushes can no longer, they are so hated that they can no longer get elected even in Texas. P. Bush ran against Ken Paxton, had 6 times the funding. Paxton whooped him. And that was after getting caught having an affair. That's how much these Bushes are hated. But what people don't understand, their money still rolls through the Republican Party. And what they have left, and Trump has taken almost everything from them. You can feel good about that. But what they have left is some longstanding members Karl Rove has recruited in the Senate. And their job, fueled at this point almost by just pure rage, is to protect the dying of the light of globalism. And what is globalism? Brilliantly put. Globalism is what Trump's fighting with these tariffs. Brilliantly put by that texter earlier. I mean, just absolutely brilliant. I have to cut and paste that before I lose it because where'd it go? Darn it. Basically saying that tariffs are, here it is. Taking down trade barriers is about constructing world government. Mass immigration, legal and illegal, is about creating one people for that world government. Yes, that is absolutely the Bush plan. The goal was to export U.S. Manufacturing. That is continued through the Biden era. Folks, that is why Biden conducted an energy war on manufacturing. When you look at what Biden did, right? He put essentially a tax executively on all natural gas produced on federal lands, and that is how you had the fastest increase in the price of federal of natural gas ever in 4 years. 29% overall energy prices, because you have to use other forms of energy when one escalates in price. 29%, we lost 80,000 manufacturing jobs net. Disaster. And right now on the phone, I'm telling you, all these auto manufacturers facing those 25% tariffs are telling Trump everything I'm saying right now. You can't even get your own party together in the Senate. I can't even sit here on the back of an envelope and price out, okay, if I build a production center in America to avoid the 25% tariff, okay, could do that. What are my energy costs? I don't know. John Thune going to get off his ass? No, they're lower. And John Thune gave that interview to The Hill earlier this week on purpose. John Thune is the rhino disaster of a leader in the Senate. Remember that guy, who that guy is? He's the one who they were having the leadership, because Mitch McConnell finally exited stage left, not right, left. And they had the leadership race. And John Thune, remember, told Donald Trump to stay out of it. He had no business deciding leadership in the Senate. That's who John Thune is. John Thune is not a Democrat. He is a globalist. And his sole job is to uphold the damage that NAFTA did. Keep the borders open the best he can, export, exfiltrate the manufacturing jobs and the manufacturing, preserve the North American Trade Union. It benefits the big multinationals. They get rich, you get poor. That's the fight. That's the word. Those are the lines right there. And so all of these auto manufacturers are saying to Trump, what are my energy costs? What if a Democrat wins? They'll make me make electric vehicles. I'll lose my shirt. What if a Democrat wins in 28? And look, you can't even get your own party to pass energy legislation that will make it affordable again for me to manufacture in the U.S. And he can't. You got Thune running around. But folks, this is where they need to use X. Somebody's going to have to come out and blast these Republicans in the Senate, explain to the American people. We are not going to be able to afford groceries. We're not going to be able to make things. We're not going to be able to do anything until John Thune gets off his fat butt and passes that energy legislation. You know, it really help if Mike Johnson would move it too. Because what day is this? 27th of March. What you doing, Mike? They're on vacation. I'm telling you, folks, the worst enemies we have right now, Democrats are irrelevant because they're crazy, is the Republican leadership. Texter writes, Tara, why is Trump still backing Lindsey Graham? Yeah, he just doubled down on his endorsement overnight. It's the number one trending thing on X right now. Doesn't Trump realize how two-faced Lindsey is? Oh, he knows. We've got to get Lindsey Graham out of there before he does any more damage. See, here's the problem. Look, Trump can read the tea leaves. Nobody's managed to get close to Lindsey Graham in a primary. And Trump knows his margins in the Senate, even for a 51, votes to pass bill, is, I mean, these senators are just, they're Bush loyalists. They really are. I mean, they came in, as I was explaining over the last, the rest of the show, they came in, were recruited, their fundraising base is all Bush. It's all Bush and Rove. So he's got a problem with them to begin with. He can't declare war on them. They declared war on him this week. John Thune did, by saying he just didn't know if he'd get around to passing Trump's agenda to the fall. It's an absolute slap in the face of Trump and his voters. It is. And the problem is that Lindsey Graham chairs the all-powerful budget committee now. He can't go to war with him. He can't. And he's just betting. Look, he cannot have Lindsey Graham, not endorse Lindsey Graham, and he's losing and he's winning a primary. I mean, Lindsey will go full revenge, and Trump's agenda won't move. Trump knows that. It's just a bad reality. Texter writes, it's literally 20 months until the midterms, losing the House and the impeachments begin. The clock is ticking on Big John Thune. Yeah, and he's using that clock. Look, what we just saw in the last week, it's actually fascinating, was Trump and Musk sicking Ron DeSantis on Mike Johnson and humiliating him. The Speaker of the House, very effective. In fact, I'm hoping they'll turn DeSantis loose on Thune. Watch that. Because remember this, Elon Musk endorsed Ron DeSantis first, not Trump. DeSantis then lagged in the polls, and Musk swung over and endorsed Trump. DeSantis and Musk are still tight. I think it was Musk who brought him in, and they unleashed him on Mike Johnson, is what they did. And DeSantis did, he's a governor of Florida, and a great governor, in my opinion, did 3 back-to-back interviews in a 24-hour period, just savaging Mike Johnson for letting these liberal judges take Trump to the cleaners. That was not an accident. He was set by Musk. That was green-lighted. Why? Because Trump and Musk can't do it. They risk upsetting these guys. So they just applied the fire to Mike Johnson's rear end. Now what's going on? Mike Johnson's running around. Oh, we'll have hearings, and Jim Jordan will roll up his sleeves and talk about mean judges. Oh, and we might even move legislation. Last week, he wasn't even admitting he could move legislation. See how this works? This is a game. So Trump's trying the carrot. Ron DeSantis was the stick. Watch DeSantis. See if he goes after Thune. Just watch and see. And that's how you'll know Musk and Trump are pulling the strings there. And look, Trump is not a fan of DeSantis at all. I mean, DeSantis obviously ran against him. But look, Trump, DeSantis, Ron DeSantis, and Casey DeSantis played golf just a few weeks ago. That's a weird one, right? Even though he's endorsing Casey DeSantis' opponent. Just watch all the strings here, folks. Watch it. I hope they turn DeSantis into a hitman. He's very good at it. In other words, I mean, the guy who's going to go after these Republican leaders and embarrass them. He got Mike Johnson good. He turned him in 72 hours. Sick him on Thune now. At least get the energy legislation passed so we can get some of this manufacturing back in the country. We don't have to pay the big tariffs on these cars. All right. Back again tomorrow. Tune into the Battleground America podcast in the meantime.